Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hey there nation, welcome to the show. We help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and time is now for another edition of Age of the Realm. These are our Warhammer Age of Sigmar battle reports. This is battle report number 33. It is a 2,000 point battle as fought between myself and my friend King Khalifa of the Schwarzwald Free Companies versus my esoteric order, the Thousand Sons, which is my Disciples of Tzeentch army. That's right, we're going back to 2,000 points of Tzeentch versus Empire. We're going to run through the army list real quick. Let's get this battle report on the roll. Alright ladies and gentlemen, here we are fighting on deployment again. As you can see, we're fighting on a 4x6 table. I'm occupying the near side of the board while my opponent King Khalifa is occupying the far side of the board. As you can see, we got lots of terrain spread throughout. We got a village made out of huts as well as some ruins and some towers on the left hand side. We got standing stones as well as a village on the right hand side. We got hills, open plains, we got the whole 9 yards. So that being said, I'm going to talk about the battle plan for this battle report. Alright, as you can see across from me I have King Khalifa's Empire army. He's pretty much running a gunline type of army list. He's got 3 units of 20 handgunners apiece, followed by some artillery on the left hand flank. He's got a steam tank on the right hand side. Same thing, that huge unit of great swords. And as you can see in my deployment, I kind of light up in a line formation as well because I am Warriors of Chaos, so there isn't really much, in terms of tactics for me. What I decided to do is I'm going to plan on kind of going for like a pincer attack. That's what my plan is going to do. As you can see, I got my Stormlords as well as my Changelings right there in the center of the board. My plan is to charge at the center, try to drop some fire from my opponent's missile troops against my huge units of infantry, so that way I can start taking some of those hits. At the same time, my plan is to have my Chaos Knights, my Second Sons, kind of sweep through the left-hand side of that village, kind of engage on the left-hand side. At the same time, have my Shadows over Innistrad, which is my Mutilith Vortex Beast, as well as Krakalikos, which is my Lord of Change on the right-hand side. They're going to try to hop and jump and kind of play like hopscotch to that little village on the right-hand side, so that way they don't get shot by a cannon. And that's pretty much where I'm kind of going with for my battle plan on this one. So here's the deployment on the left-hand flank. As you can see, I got my 5 Chaos Knights of Tzeentch. These are my Second Sons. And like I said before, I'm going to send them over to that village to the left-hand side, kind of go through those little hut areas and try to sweep my opponent left. and deploy in the center. As you can see, I got my two huge units of infantry on my left hand side. I have my Stormlords, which is my 30-man unit of Chaos Warriors armed with halberds as well as shields. And on the right hand side, I got my unit of 20 Changelings. Those are my Zangors. Leading right behind them, of course, I got my Magister Barnabas the Scrivener. He's on the left hand side. Right in the center, I got my General Cold Hellbrass, the Chaos Lord. And then right next to him on the right hand side, I have Skeksis of Dark Crystals. And then behind them, I have Flotsam and Jetsam, which are my two Chaos Familiars to get +1 to casting bonuses. Pretty much, I'm going to send these guys charging up the center, use my Chaos Lord to summon up units to attack my opponent's rear as well as flank and try to take those guys out and hopefully not get shot to pieces with those handguns or those artillery pieces that he's packing. And finally, here on my right-hand flank, I got my Shadow over Innistrad. That is my Mutalith Vortex Beast, rather. On the very far right-hand side, I got Squawkali Cost. That's the Warden of Pathways. And like I said before, my plan is how my monsters kind of hopscotch through those little standing stones as well as buildings to the right-hand flank, so that way they get shot by cannons. And so we're going to see exactly how that works out. With that being said, we're going to talk about the Empire deployment next. On the left-hand side, you can see there he's got his Red Company. That is a unit of 20 handgunners. Right behind both that line of handgunners, he's also got Donner, which is the Great Cannon on the left-hand side, as well as Blitzen, which is Hellblaster Volley Gun on the right-hand side. He's also got a Engineer locating that unit as well, so that makes it kind of very deadly as well. And making up the center, he's got the Yellow Company, which is that unit of 20 handgunners are located in the front, and then right behind there he's got that huge unit of 40 great swords. Those are the Black Company. Within that unit, he's also got his general who's armed with a stately war band, as you can see there on the left-hand side as well, so that's a pretty hard nut to crack. And finally, make up the far right-hand side of his army, he's got the Red Company. That is the unit of 20 handgunners right there on the right-hand side. And then he's also got his Steam Tank, the Panzer Baron, and that's also going to be kind of a hard flank to kind of destroy. But like I said before, my plan is to try to overdevelop him by setting up new Lords of Change, as well as summoning up new units with using my Unending Legions ability for my Chaos Lord, and then kind of engage him that way. So that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 1, and we roll for initiative. And the Empire wins the initiative on this one. So as you can see in this photo, King Khalifa decides to use his command ability, which is Hold Your Ground. Pretty much how it works, that he gets to pick 3 stately units within his army, but basically they can't move, they can't charge at all, but because they're staying in place, they get +1 to wound, as well as +1 to hit when it comes to combat, which makes these guys extremely dangerous. So you can see they've got those little shield icons next to these 3 units of handgunners, so those guys aren't going anywhere. And so that pretty much makes up his command phase on this one. And during the move phase, he moves up his Steam Tank Panzer Baron. He rolls 2d6, moves him about 8 inches. He starts setting right down the middle of the little valley there between the buildings there. So not the valley, the little alley between the 2 buildings and the village on the left-hand side. So that way he can start engaging targets with his Panzer Baron. So with movement out of the way, we go directly to the shooting phase. And in the shooting phase, he cuts loose with Blitzen, which is Hellblaster Volley Gun, manages to kill 3 of my second sons right off the bat. So now that unit's down to 2 men left, which is absolutely horrifying. Now, it is true that the Blitzen, the Hellblaster Volley Gun, can shoot my units pretty quickly, but luckily for me, I do have the Unending Legions ability, so as long as my commander's still alive, I can use that command ability. Roll a d6 on a 4-up, I can summon up new units, so hopefully that will be enough to save me, because I'm dealing with a lot of long-range firepower against my army, my enemy army. But to make things absolutely worse, what ends up happening is that my opponent opens up with almost all of his shooting that he had going on. I forgot to take a picture of it the last time, but in the last round it happened to have is that he used his he used 4 of his, he has got his Engineer, as well as his 3 marksmen within his 3 units of handgunners, and they're all armed with Hawkland long rifles. He has all 4 of those guys open up my Chaos General, managed to put 4 wounds on my Chaos General, so I forgot to bring that up. But the most disturbing part, though, is right here. He opens up with both the Panzer Baron Steam Cannon, as well as shooting with his regular cannon, managed to put 2 wounds on 12 wounds onto my Lord of Change. So he's got 14 wounds, he's carrying 2, he's got 2 more left over. However, he's also within range of this Panzer Baron Steam Cannon, where he can shoot like a stream of like a breath attack with using steam. He also uses his repeating handgun as well as his Hawkland long rifle, managed to put the last 2 wounds onto Squawkali Cost, and he kills my Lord of Change just like that at the top of turn number 1, and things are not looking good at all. So I'm like, oh my god. So now I got my 4 wounds, all the 6 wounds that are left on my Chaos Lord. He's also went after my Lord of Change. Things are not looking good for my army. And in the Battle Shock phase, the rest of my Chaos Knights and my second sons flee off the board, and things are just going horrible for me at this point. So with that being said, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for the Disciples of Tzeentch. So luckily for me, I was able to use my command ability, Unending Legions. I summoned up another unit of 5 Chaos Knights. This time I put in the very back rank of his army, right where his cannon, as well as his old blaster volley, are going to locate at, because I need to basically do some really clever maneuvering and killing here. Otherwise, I'm not going to make it to the other side of the board to fight in close combat. He's got a gunline army, so he's not going to really move. I had to do all the movements, so I got to start taking away his long-range capabilities on that side. So as you can see, I got my 5 Chaos Knights set up. I'll have him charge during the charge phase and take out the cannon, because that thing's the most dangerous of the weapons that he has, and hopefully be able to take out his cannon and go after his Hellblaster Volley Gun and basically just kind of raise hell in the back of his back ranks there and just kind of kill as many people as possible. So that is the plan. And during the hero phase, I also cast a couple of spells. First of all, I use my general. I have him cast arcane. Sorry, that's my general. I didn't use spells. I'm sorry. I took my general and had him use his command ability from the counter command to give inspiring presence to this unit Zangor, because I have a sneaky suspicion that Buddy King Khalifa is going to go after that unit first. So that's why I got a little skull icon right next to them to represent the fact these guys aren't breaking as well. At the same time, I also cast another spell with my Zangor Shaman. I decided to cast Summon Up Lord of Change, and luckily for me, I got a 9 on that spell. It takes a 10 plus to make that cast off to make it work, but because I got my chaos formulas right behind them, that 9 automatically becomes a 10, and so I bring up another Lord of Change. And there he is, Squad Kalikos, the Warden of Pathways. I brought him back onto the table again. This time I kind of stuck him right behind that large standing stone, so I don't have to worry about him getting shot at, so that part was kind of nice. And because I'm out of range from my other spell, I take Bardos the Scrivener, have him cast Arcane Shielding. I use it to protect my unit of Chaos Warriors. Give them +1 up to their save, which is going to help you all out since I'm going to be moving into handgun range when I go up across the board to try to engage my opponent. So during the move phase, you can see in this photo, I pretty much run up everything as quick as I possibly can through this village and to the center of the board and quickly engage my opponent's army. First of all, I roll up to run with my warriors, my Chaos Warriors, my Stormlords, so those guys kind of struffle really quick across the table. Same thing with my Zangor units. I also run up my characters as well. The only difference though is that of course I have my General as well as Skexes of Dark Crystals kind of take care behind that church building so that way they don't get shot at by artillery. Unfortunately though, after I moved him, I realized it didn't really matter because 3 of the members armed with Hockland long rifles, which are the blue company as well as the yellow company. I'm sorry, the red company as well as the yellow company as well as the red company, and as well as his engineer can still have line of sight on my general. So I just gotta hope that he survives this next round of shooting. And at the same time, I also have Skokalikos, you can see in the left-hand kind of the right-hand corner, take cover behind buildings, as well as moving the shadows of Innistrad into that village as well. As you can see, here's a close of my general as well as Skexes of Dark Crystals taking cover behind that church so that my general doesn't get artilleried off the battlefield. However, as a hindsight, you realize he is within the line of sight still of marksmen armed with Hockland long rifles, so let's hopefully this guy will survive the next round of shooting. And over here on the right hand side, as you can see, I have my Shadow of Innistrad kind of make us work his way through the village so that way I can get closer up to those handgunners and start using his Waving Mutations ability. And I also take Skokalikos and put him behind that double-decker building there so that way he doesn't get blasted off the table again by more cannon fire. So that pretty much makes a move phase for my army. In move phase, we go directly to shooting phase. And in the shooting phase, I use my Zangor's Icon Bearer's ability. Since I have 2 wizards within 9 inches of that unit, they get off 2 mortal wounds and successfully kill 2 members of the blue company over here on the right hand side. So that makes it the shooting phase. So with shooting phase over, we go directly to the charge and combat phase. And I forgot to take a picture of the charging phase, but however, as you can see in this photo, what I did is I sent in my second sons, my newly summoned up unit of Chaos Knights, into the back end of Donner. Magic killed that last cannon, destroyed it in close combat, so that's pretty much how it works out in the combat phase as well. So with combat phase over, we both go to rule turn number 2, and we roll for initiative. And unfortunate for me, my opponent does seize the initiative again, so King Khalifa once again plants his stately war banner and also uses his hold the line command ability on all 3 of his units of handgunners. So you can see we got the 3 shield icons next to those 3 guys, so they got +1 to hit as well as +1 to wound, which is absolutely crazy because now those guys are within handgun fire range of my units, so that's not good. And during the move phase, he takes the Panzer Bear and has him kind of go around the double-decker building and turn and face against Skokalikos again, and that's just all kind of bad news because that means my Lord of Change can get shot at again by that thing, and that steam tank is absolutely terrifying. So that pretty much makes it with the move phase as well. And since movement is over, we go directly to the shooting phase. And in the shooting phase, my opponent takes his Hellblaster Volleygun Blitzen, has him open up with all 3 decks of his cannons. Because his engineer's in there, he can also reroll and he doubles as well. So because of that, he gets like some kind of godly number. I think it's like 12 or 13 shots off, and managed to wipe out everybody in my second son's unit except for my one standing bear in that yellow knight there. So he's kind of standing by himself. Basically made that unit combat ineffective just by blowing it out of the water with that Hellblaster Volleygun. So things are not looking good for the shooting phase so far. And to make things worse, it takes all of his units of handgunners and has them all open up on my unit of Stormlords. Managed to kill half that unit in one volley of gunfire. So you can see that even though I did have arcane shielding on these guys, it really didn't really matter much because of the number of hits he was getting off. But the number of handgunners he has, they automatically get +1 to hit. So these guys originally are 5 up to hit. But because they got 20 men apiece pretty much for each of the units, they're basically shooting at 4 up. Well, they also got the Hold Your Ground ability, which gives them +1 to bonus to hit as well. So these guys are are now hitting at 3-up, and they're also wounding on 2-ups, which is very, very devastating. Not to mention that these guns also have rend on them, so that takes away my arcane shielding ability, and you combine the amount of firepower that's coming down the lane. They killed 15 of my Stormlords, who, by the way, are carrying 2 wounds apiece, which tells you exactly how much damage those handgunners are putting on my units, so things are not looking good for my army. And to make matters worse, my opponent takes the marksman from the yellow company as well as the red company, and he takes his engineer, opens up with all 3 of those Hawk long rifles onto my general, and manages to kill my general at the same time. So now I won't be able to summon up any units at all during the battlefield at all, so things are not looking good on this part. And to make things worse, the steam cannon, the steam tank opens up with this regular steam cannon. It also uses steam breath ability as well. Manages to put 10 wounds onto my Lord of Change. Also with the Hawk long rifle as well as the repeater handgun as well. So all those combined wounds put 10 wounds onto my guy. And so now my Lord of Change is carrying 10 wounds. He's only got 4 more left, and things are not looking good. So with shooting phase over, we go directly to charge phase. And as you can see in this photo, because the Panzerbaron has a mighty huge Steel Behemoth ability, it causes D3 mortal wounds or an impact that any target charges into. So this time he managed to put 2 mortal wounds onto Skrikalikos, so now he's up to 12 wounds. And in the combat phase, he kills my Lord of Change with his steel grinding ability. So now my second Lord of Change that I summoned over the battlefield has now just been ran over. Basically just got ran over by a steam tank, who just went kind of like, you know, full-blown Fast and Furious mode and just ran over my Lord of Change. So things are not looking good at all for my guys as well. And in the Battle Shock phase, my last Chaos Knight also fell off the table too, which is horrible because now my general is dead. I can't summon up any more Warriors, Slaves of Darkness units at all. So now my my plan of actually sending in troops to take on the back end of this army and taking out piece by piece that way is completely fallen apart. So with that being said, we go directly to the bottom, turn number 2 for the Disciples of Tzeentch. Alright, so as you can see in this photo, we decided to go directly to the hero phase. This picture is taken directly afterwards. First of all, I take Barnabas the Scrivener, which is my Magister, having cast his Bolt of Change ability. I kill 2 members of the the blue company, 2 of those handgunners, so those guys got wiped off the face of the planet because of that, so that was kind of nice. I also took 2d6, rolled 2 4-ups, and because of that, I got 2 Chaos Spawn as well, which is pretty freaking amazing. At the same time, I also used the Waves of Change ability that my my Mutilate Vortex Beast, the Shadow of Innistrad, has as well. Managed to kill I think 4 or 5 guys with mortal wounds on that one as well, so that was also pretty cool to kind of help out bolster my unit. And during the move phase, you can see in this photo, I pretty much ran up my Zangar, and the reason why is because Zangar can both run as well as charge in the same phase, so I decided to do that. Also have my Shaman, Skexes of Dark Crystals roll up behind him, so that way they can give some support. At the same time, I also move my Shadow over Innistrad, as well as my Chaos Spawn to give them positions that way they can charge the next turn as well. Also ran up Barnabas the Scrivener, as well as my Chaos Summoners to kind of lend their magical support as well in the next phase. At the same time, I also moved up my Stormlords, just their normal movement ability, so that way they can charge in during the charge phase. Unfortunately for me, shooting phase wasn't all that impressive. I only managed to kill, I think, one more of the members of the blue company as well. So because of that, we go directly to charge phase. And as you can see in the charge phase, all my units just kind of gauge into close combat. I send in my second Stormlords directly into the red company left-hand side. Hopefully I can destroy those guys as well. I send my Zangar charging directly to the yellow company with the Zangar Shaman kind of keeping off a distance, but still close enough to where he can give his buffs. At the same time, the right-hand side, I charge in my Shadow over Innistrad as well as my 2 Chaos Spawn. Unfortunately for me, however, one of my Chaos Spawn got shot off to pieces because of the Piper's ability that these handgunners can use, which means when they get charged at, they can open fire real fast before I engage in close combat. They managed to kill a handful of Zangar, a handful of my second sons, my Stormlords, as well as one of my Chaos Spawn at the same time. So, you know, it's kind of sucks, but you know, at least I'm engaged in close combat now, and I can cause some damage. So with that being said, we go directly to the combat phase. So this picture is taken directly after the combat phase as well as Battle Shock. As you can see, these handgunners in the red company here on the left hand side actually put a pretty good fight. And the reason why that is the case is because of that hold your ground ability. Originally handgunners, when they fight, they only have a 5-up to wound, 5-up to hit. But because they get a +1 bonus from their commander because of the hold your ground command ability, these guys are now hitting a 4-up or 4-up, which is pretty much as good as my Chaos Warriors, which is actually pretty good for my opponent. I only managed to kill 4 of those guys in the process of doing so. They managed to stick it out with the Battle Shock because they rolled a 1 on their Battle Shock phase, so because of they're not going anywhere. At the same time, though, they killed like I think 2 or 3 of my guys in return, so that was actually pretty devastating for my guys, but you know, that's just the grind. However, my Zangor had no problem whatsoever chewing up the yellow company. They just killed those guys down to a man. They managed to kill a handful of my Zangor at the same time, but that handgun unit just got chopped up to the last man, probably being eaten alive by my Zangors as well. I mean, these guys have 3 attacks with their Savage Blades ability, plus they get the additional hits and the wounds because of my general and my Zangor Shaman right behind them, plus they get beak attacks, so it wasn't to be all that expected on that part. So because of that, if I can get the next turn, my plan here is to have my Zangor charge with those great swords and hopefully finish those guys off as well. At the same time, I managed to finish off the rest of the blue company as well. I lost both my Chaos Spawn in the process of doing that. Also got 6 wounds put on to my Shadow and Innistrad, but you know, that's just the kind of the risk you got to take because during my hero phase, that thing heals up D3 wounds, so that's not so devastating as well. Plus, its waves of changeability are still working for my next hero phase too, so not looking so bad on that one. Pretty much my plan is to have this thing kind of hit the flank of that huge unit of great swords and my Zangor taken from the front, hopefully just take apart this main line, and then after that, I'll just be taking his army bit apart piece by piece. So that being said, that's the end of turn number 2. We go to top of turn number 3 and we also roll for initiative. And unfortunately for me, my opponent was the initiative on this one, so King Khalifa gets to go first. As you can see in this photo, he plants a stately war banner, also does his hold your ground command ability. So you can see he's got +1 to hit now with those great swords, which is absolutely devastating. So if I do charge him for the next charge turn, these guys get +1 to wound as well as +1 to hit with their Zweihanders, and that's just absolutely terrifying. He's also put the same thing on his handgunners as well. And so yeah, that pretty much makes the command phase on this one. And in the movement phase, he moves up like 12 inches. He rolls like an ungodly amount of dice roll. He decides to add more pressure. Since no wounds have been put on the Panzer Baron, he has no problem passing the wounds test. So he moves up 12 inches with a steam tank, and that's a perfect range for him to get off his cannon, as well as his steam vent gun, as well as all the other firearms around that tank. So I'm like, oh my god, I'm just starting to get horrible flashbacks whatever happens as things start shooting at things. And in the shooting phase, but as you can see in this photo, things are not looking good in the shooting phase. In the shooting phase, the Panzer Baron opens up the steam gun cannon as well as the steam gun, opens up with all of its firearms as well, managed to put the final wounds it needed to do to kill my Shadow over Innistrad. But the really big thing that was absolutely demoralizing was during the shooting phase was that he actually opened up with his Hawkland long rifles as well as his unit of handgunners. Instead of shooting at the Chaos Warriors and engaged in close combat with, they open up on my Zangor Shaman and managed to kill that poor guy too. So now both of my units, both my Zangor Shaman as well as my Shadow over Innistrad have been shot to pieces, and that's just absolutely sad. And because the hits just keep on hitting, he takes his Hellblaster volley and opens up onto that unit of Zangor, managed to kill like I think 4 or 5 more guys in the process of doing that, kind of that unit a little bit smaller as well. So with shooting phase over, go directly to charge phase. And to add insult to injury, he charges into my Magister Barnabas the Scrivener with the Panzer Baron, and not just know exactly what's going to happen during the combat phase as well. He rolls up on his wounds. He managed to put 2 mortal wounds onto my Magister as well, so that was pretty horrible. So with charges over with, we go directly to the combat phase. And in the combat phase, this is pictures taken directly after the battle shock phase. My dice just completely abandoned me for my Chaos Warriors. I only managed to kill like 3 or 4 of those Imperial handgunners of the Red Company, but the Red Company manages to cut down my unit down to the last 3 Chaos Warriors, and that was absolutely nuts. Plus, I rolled horrible for my bravery test, so only got 3 Chaos Warriors left at that 30-man unit to take on this unit of handgunners. And I'm starting to realize now that things might not be going my way during this battle. And of course, the Panzer Baron had no problem whatsoever running over my Magister Barnabas the Scrivener. He got crushed underneath the axles of this thing. So yeah, that's not to be expected. That wasn't surprising to me. I knew exactly what was going to happen once that tank charged right into my Magister. So with that being said, we go direct to the bottom turn number 3 for the Disciples of Tzeentch. So this takes to the bottom turn number 3 for the Disciples of Tzeentch. This is after the movement phase, and the reason why is because all my commanders are dead, so I have no leaders. So I really don't have a command phase anymore, so I just go straight from the movement phase. From the movement phase, I go straight to the charging phase. As you can see in this picture, I send my Zangor charging directly into that unit of, into the great swords, which is the Black Company. I got, what is it, like, something like 38, yeah, I got like 38 great swords against. I have to go up against and hopefully chew through these guys as quickly as possible, so that's kind of rough. At the same time, I also charge my Familiars, Flotsam and Jetsam to deal with that steam tank because I need to do something to slow that thing down because it's just going to cause chaos otherwise. So yeah, that pretty much makes up the charging phase for this one. So it charges over, we go directly to the combat phase. And in the combat phase, I think I only killed like 1 handgunner, and these handgunners just finished off the rest of my Chaos Warriors. It was absolutely demoralizing on that part. So yeah, things are not looking very good for my army. I did, however, manage to kill 9 of the great swords. That part was kind of cool, but those great swords was their general managed to kill the rest of my Zangors, which is really bad on my part. So yeah, they managed to kill my Zangar unit down to the man. Once I lost my Zangar Shaman, they didn't get their +1s to hit and to wound, and they also don't get the +1 attacks either because they're kind of a small unit now as well. So that was absolutely demoralizing. So yeah, those guys got chopped up. I did kill 9 great swords, but in the great scheme of things though, not much really happened. And of course, the Panzer Bear had no problem turning my 2 Chaos Familiars into sticky, gooey paste on the bottom of this battlefield as it ran over with the treads of its over its axles and its treads. So yeah, that was pretty sad as well. And as you can see, that takes it directly to the end of the game because my entire army's been killed. So I got nothing left. I've been tabled on this game. It was absolutely demoralizing. But you know, at the same time, it was absolutely kind of fun as well. So with that being said, we're going to go directly to the after action report because this game is now officially over.
I thought about staying. They offered me the chance to lead them, to teach them, to be king.
Uh-huh.
But my place is here, so I swallowed the juice, said the words, and here I am.
Did you say the words right this time?
Well, maybe I didn't say every single tiny little syllable, no, but basically I said them, yeah. Basically.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for the after action report. This is the part of the battle report we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn from the next time that we do battle. This is the after action report for battle report number 33. It was fought between King Khalifa, the Schwarzwald Free Companies of the Empire, versus my Esoteric Order of the Thousand Suns, which was my Disciple of Tzeentch army. Ended up being a defeat for yours truly. So let's go talk about some of my losses real quick. Well, first of all, I lost everything in my army. I lost Ekel Hellbrass, the Champion of Tzeentch, who was my general, Barnabas the Scrivener, Skeksis of Dark Crystals, Skrakalikos, the Warden of Pathways, the Second Sons, the Stormlords, the Changelings, Flotsam and Jetsam, as well as the Shadows over Innistrad. King Khalifa, however, he lost the Yellow Company, the Blue Company, as well as Donner. And let's talk about why that was the case. First and foremost, artillery and shooting dominated this battle report. My opponent had a gun line build for his army. It used it very, very effectively and to great effect as well. His artillery is very, very powerful for the Empire army. Same thing with the steam tank as well. As always, those are blue chips units for any Empire army if you're planning on fielding one as well, especially in the Age of Sigmar. Now, he was also really able to defeat me because of smart targeting. He concentrated his fire on a couple of forces of my units. First thing he went after was my linchpin units. He went after Outcold Hellbrass as my general, so that way I couldn't use my Unending Legion's command ability, somewhat new units to occupy the battlefield. And at the same time, I also targeted my Lord of Change. Skrakalikos, that guy's a #1 damage output for my magic, as well as ability to summon up other Lords of Changes as well. So because I couldn't summon up new support units to outflank him and outmaneuver him, since I couldn't summon up more Lords of Change to bog down his enemy's lines, it allowed him to just take my army apart piece by piece by concentrating fire with his handgunners into my infantry units to basically destroy them. Now, I know you guys are going to talk about, you know, using summoning pull points and summoning points to do my stuff. As you guys know, I don't use summoning in my battle reports, neither do my friends, so we're not going to be talking about that part. But for all of you who are saying that summoning is overpowered, let this be an object lesson to you guys. You don't need to really worry about your opponent's ability to summon if you know how to play the game and play smart, alright? King Khalifa was a genius of this. He concentrated all of his fire on things that he knew I could use to summon up my units. He took those things out and finally pretty much just took care of my summoning problem, for me. So let this be an objective lesson for you guys. Do what King Khalifa says. Be a smart opponent. Destroy your enemies that way. Don't complain. Don't spam. Don't be like, oh, it's overpowered. Just learn how to deal with the problems and defeat your enemy. As always, this was a fun game. Smart opponent. It's always a blast, quite literally, to play King Khalifa because he likes to breathe the artillery and the handgunners. Can't wait for the rematch because I want to see if I can outmaneuver him and try to take him out again the next time. Well, that's pretty much going to do for this one, you guys. As always, check out Instagram, Facebook, and Google Plus for all the latest news on our hobby that's taking place here. And as always, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. It's kind of nice talking to you guys and also going with the back and forth. That's going to do it for this one, you guys. We'll see you again next this Wednesday coming up for Shadows over Shadespire. Also, we alternate every Thursday with our Warhammer 8th Edition Fantasy Battle Reports as well as Necromunda Battle Reports, and every Sunday between Age of Sigmar as well as the 9th Age. We'll see you guys in the next one. You guys stay classy. Peace out, you guys.